7 reasons why e-learning is not reaching its potential. Now, e-learning has really come a very long way in the last few years now. When e-learning first started infiltrating into organisations and institutions, the same as anything's first attempt was pretty basic stuff. And the chances are that those who had a trial of those first attempts at e-learning probably have a bad taste left in their mouths. They tended to basically be, hey, let's just take our face-to-face training, get those PowerPoints, turn them into PDFs and chuck them on the server. That's great e-learning. Obviously, it's not. Those that did try a bit harder than that perhaps just had some very monotone speaking voiceovers over some very dull, boring PowerPoint slides. For ones that went one step better than that, we may have had some really awesome early 90s style video animations, which kind of made people feel like they were looking through a really boring cartoon. So videos, online learning, this whole experience has come a very, very long way. It's gone from dry and dismal and very dictatorial, sit back passively and watch experiences to a real interactive, engaging learning experience. Now, I truly do believe with the functionality of learning platforms today, they really truly are an advanced extension of training face-to-face. I do believe that with the functionalities that are available today, that learning experience can now be even better than face-to-face training. The modern day learner kind of expects to have e-learning these days, and they expect to have interactivity, engagement. They expect it to be like a community where they can go in and very quickly find straightforward answers to their questions. So one of the main reasons is reason number 1 why training is not being used to its potential in the e-learning format in organisations and businesses and institutions is because of the unrealised functionality of the modern day learning platform. Today's world of e-learning allows you to have multiple ways of delivering the training and allowing the training to be engaged with and experienced. In today's online learning world, you can include and embed discussion forums that feel like social media channels that people are very familiar with. You can embed live webinars and live streams directly inside the learning platform itself. You can take external links. So if you have perhaps websites that you want people to visit to go and see case studies or explore, maybe there are YouTube videos or anything external that has a URL that you want people to engage with as part of the training process, but you don't want them to leave the online learning platform. You don't want them to get distracted, for instance. You can embed these live, functional, clickable websites and external links and resources directly inside the learning platform itself. You can embed quizzes and polls. So this is a great way to not only get people engaged from the beginning by getting interactive, but you can really bring in what you would be doing face-to-face in the classroom here. Now, as a trainer who delivers face-to-face, a lot of us do sort of assessment as we go, by the way people's body language is going, by the way they nod their heads or respond to rhetorical questions, even outright questions. We can gauge very quickly and instantaneously when we're face to face whether people are understanding and engaging with us, or that people are listening to what we're saying. That is normally very difficult to do online. But with today's learning platforms, you can use these polls as a way of checking in and doing that sort of on the spot assessment by putting in quick questions where people say yes, no, green, blue, I don't know, any kind of other questions you want to ask. You can get live poll bars going up and down to see people's responses live as they're responding. So you can kind of get that immediate feedback as to what's going on and what people are taking in, understanding or not understanding. It can also add a little bit of fun element in there as well. Now you can embed quizzes. They can be formal and collect data, or informal. You can also actually create assessments and exams inside your learning platforms as well. So this is fantastic if you have compliance training or accredited training where you need to collect certain data of people's assessments and answers. They all get saved in an Excel file, and this is a really fantastic way for you to make this experience just as it would be face-to-face. So we're going to go through some of the other ways that you can make this training engaging and just how much functionality these learning platforms can have without the complexity of the old systems. The old systems before required real heavy training for people to use them, and if you didn't use them every single day, you had to kind of relearn it every time you logged in. Whereas in today's world, these learning management platforms are built in a way that are as simple as using a social media channel, and truly if you can upload something or attach something to an email, you can also use and build and manage these schools yourself as well. So the functionality has improved dramatically, particularly in the last 2 years. So if you haven't engaged deeply into the online learning space on cloud-based systems in that time, highly recommend you get stuck in. So the unrealized functionality is reason number one as to why e-learning is not reaching its potential. Now, the second reason why e-learning is not being used to its potential is because there's a perception that it's a bit of a cop-out, that it's the cheap and easy option. You know, just throw them an online course. Nah. Well, the thing is, e-learning that's designed properly, that's been put together with the proper principles of curriculum design and adult learning in mind, is not necessarily the cop-out version at all. Although online learning is certainly a far more cost-effective method of delivering training than face-to-face is, because once you've built it, once you've developed it, it can then be engaged with time and time and time again at no additional expense whatsoever. If it's done properly, it does still require a degree of curriculum design, planning and development. It's been designed in a way where the training not only meets the strategic objectives of the company, or making sure that those within the business actually have the skills and competencies to take the business to achieving its strategic objectives. It also has been designed in a way where it's addressing each of the skills gaps to build that bridge between where the company is at now and where the company needs to go. It's also repurposed, redeveloped and broken up the content in a way whereby the learning experience can be even greater, if not an extension onto the existing training programs that are already in place. So it most definitely is not a cop-out when it's being done properly, and therefore shouldn't be a reason why it's not being engaged with to its advantage inside organizations. Now, another reason, number three, why e-learning training is not being used to its full potential in businesses is purely because those businesses just don't have the e-learning content in place. They don't have the capability or the capacity to transform, develop or redevelop their training in a way that's going to work online. Now, we're going to talk in another video that I have about what your sort of dream team, e-learning team will actually look like and the roles that are involved in that. But in short, you do need e-learning consultants and strategists. You do need curriculum developers. You do need film crews and equipment. You do need software whereby you can film and record and edit the content. You do need a learning management system that can be easily engaged with, preferably on the cloud. Now, those organizations that are aware of the fact that e-learning is more than just putting some PowerPoints together and sticking it on a server, sort of then go, well, this now seems too hard, it's too expensive, it's too difficult, we can't employ these people. And that shouldn't be a reason why e-learning cannot be engaged with properly into its full potential within an organization, because outsourcing it to companies like Main Training is so much easier these days. It's a lot more cost effective than bringing those employees in. And if you already have face-to-face training in place, repurposing and reusing that content to turn it into something that's going to work online is a lot simpler than having to start something from scratch at all. So it's another reason why it's not being engaged with appropriately. Now, reason number 4, the reason why it's not working as well out there as it could be is because a lot of the organizations are still working with the old school platforms. Sorry, server-based platforms, but they are not the best methods to be using and hosting your online training. If your staff have to log into either an online or an organizational Wi-Fi, or log into an organizational VPN, or they have to be on company equipment in order to access that, you're causing a major barrier to people being able to access their training. These days, people might be more likely to watch their training on a lunch break when they've got 5 minutes spare between meetings, during a coffee break, or even at home late after work after the kids have all gone to bed. And we need to bear this sort of lifestyle in mind when it comes to thinking about online learning, because if people can access their training from any device, a mobile phone, an iPad, laptop, a desktop computer, from anywhere that has an internet connection without having to go through company servers and so on, they are going to be far more likely to be able to quickly get into that. It's going to feel like less hassle. They're going to have more hoops to jump through in order to be able to access it. There's nothing worse than sitting down at 9 o'clock at night and thinking, actually, I feel like jumping into this training right now, and realizing that you haven't got passwords, you can't contact the IT department because it's after hours. So by moving from old school server-based training platforms to instead having cloud-based platforms, you're opening up that engagement and that opportunity for people to access the training at any time from anywhere. Now, another reason why e-learning training is not being used to its potential is because a lot of organizations still have the traditional mindset of thinking that it's something that only the L&D team need to be worrying about or thinking about. Actually, training really is a whole organization issue. If your people don't have the skills, the knowledge, the competencies, the capability, your workforce doesn't have the capacity to do what it needs to do in order to deliver your products and your services to its highest quality, the fact of the matter is the profitability, the efficiency of the business is going to decline. So this is something whereby the top end of the business really needs to understand that it must be sharing with at least its senior managers the strategic objectives of the company, must be sharing its visions in terms of any new products and services that are going to be developed or iterated, improved or changed. Because if the workforce aren't being prepared for those changes and those adaptations, or are not being given the skills that they really need to be doing to multi-skill, which is becoming a larger part of organizational practice today, they're simply not going to be able to do it. They're not going to meet those KPIs and they're not going to help your organization maintain its marketplace standing if they don't have those skills. So by understanding that the whole business needs to be involved in this process is critical to e-learning being used effectively. Now, another reason that it's not being used is because of the concept of people's computer literacy or illiteracy being a barrier. Now, again, in the old days where there were sort of very complex server-based systems where whole training programs had to be run in order to teach people how to use the system, major barrier to learning. If people have to work really hard just to even log in and learn how to locate and access their training, you're going to have problems. People are not going to engage and it's going to be really difficult to get people to stay up to date with their online learning. So when we're using simple modern day technology, modern day learning management systems that are as simple to use as social media, that are as simple to use as your emails, then you can, with a 2-minute video that you can send by email, show people just how to log in, access their training and search for training. Particularly if you're using a modern day system where you connect it up with your email marketing, for instance, you can actually use email as a way to guide people through their training, remind them to stay on track of their training, and even just automatically pass them through each type of training that they go through in their jobs, from induction training to on-the-job competency training to refresher training to ultimate specialization fields as well. So you can really eliminate this fear of the whole computer literacy and having to train people up to use new systems to make sure that you're using e-learning to its maximum potential. And number 7 is a lack of awareness of the benefits of e-learning. Again, those who have been exposed to the old school methodology of the very passive approach to online learning don't realize just how advanced and how much functionality these online learning platforms can have today. Now, if you're using your LMS, your learning management system in-house, some of this won't necessarily be necessary for you, but perhaps if you're a business that wants to show your marketplace and your customers the level of expertise and knowledge that you have within your organization, you can even sell your training. You can connect it up to marketing platforms. If you're going out there and getting your knowledge, your business out to the world, you can actually use education as a marketing tool to demonstrate the capability of your team and of what your organization can do. You can literally integrate entire career pathway and progression plans into your learning management system so that people are guided through the process, not to mention all of the different types of medium that you can upload to make it a truly engaging, interactive and transformational experience. So those are just 7 reasons, and there are more, as to why organizations aren't using it to its full potential. And hopefully from watching this and some of my other training videos, and are indeed bringing me in to deliver some workshops, I can just show you how you can begin to eliminate all of these and make sure that your organization is using e-learning to its maximum potential.